2, 1, and we're live.
We're live.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to Apollo Challenge Live, episode 16. I'm happy to be back.
What's up,
So I
my
was
man?
off last week.
Good to have you back.
Yeah. So joined by Will and Kyle Bracey, and we're going to be talking
That's
about
us.
That's him. That's me.
Will Coffin, Kyle Bracey,
Will Coffin.
Will Coffin.
And
I'm
Kyle
Rob Bates.
Bracey.
Kyle
Rob
Bracey.
Bates. Okay, I'm glad we got this sorted out.
All right.
This week we're going to be talking about your skin on the Apollo Challenge.
Yeah.
So let's start with, generally speaking, we've covered a lot of the benefits of a ketogenic diet and benefits of being on the Apollo Challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Mental clarity, weight loss, increased energy, better digestion. But one thing we've kind of touched on in the past is your skin, but we're going to dive into that today, right?
Yeah.
So, Will, as far as your skin on the Apollo Challenge, what are you going through and what's happening with it?
I think one of the big things or kind of missteps people take is they think of your skin as a different system than your digestion, your muscles, than the body system. Like it's this separate, totally different thing that we need to care for with products and all of kind of like what's being sold to us over the counter, and and somehow they're not related. Somehow what's happening on our skin is not related to what's happening in our gut, and the reality is the opposite of that. The skin is actually probably one of the first indicators of what's happening in our gut and in our body in general.
Absolutely.
As far as inflammation and our gut health and all of that stuff just tends to show up right on our skin. So if you really pay close attention to that, you use it as an early indicator and a warning system for, okay, maybe I need to change something because my skin's not looking great, and my body's trying to tell me something. So so I think one of the big limiting factors and effects, negative effects of on your skin is inflammation, systemic inflammation. We've talked about that in effect on every other system, right? It's going to affect your gut health. It's going to affect your your ability to lose weight, to build muscle, all of those things. And so there's a lot of influences that are going to affect your kind of overall systemic inflammation that's going to show up on your skin. And so a lot of the pieces of the Apollo Challenge, the ketogenic diet being one of the biggest ones, that's probably the best way to really knock down that systemic inflammation and to really improve kind of skin appearance, and really, if your skin's looking better, then your body's doing better in general, and there's less underlying issues. So
it falls under that mantra, you look good, feel good, and which one comes first is hard to determine, but we can assume that you're feeling good, right? Your skin is your output, and that's going to look good. And so we've actually had real fun experiences taking users through the challenge, and they've come to that conclusion on their own. And so that's usually found within the first couple weeks, and then just like anything else, they take it for granted for a while, and then you have those periods or lapses where you step away, and then you have the breakouts or just the skin irritation. And it's pretty good. It's a pretty good indicator that the foods that we're eating were not favorable. So just like when your joints are feeling poorly and you're staying active on them, right? You forget that they ever felt bad, and then all of a sudden you stop caring for them, and they are pretty good at telling you, hey, we're not agreeing with this. So
this isn't working anymore.
Right.
So let's go back to the breakouts. So as far as what's happening to you when you're eating foods that aren't going to be Apollo certified or checked off in the Apollo Challenge, what is happening to your body when you're eating those foods? So those high glycemic index foods, the white breads or the rice, white rice out there, those types of things.
Yeah. So on the technical side, what is understood in the medical community right now, and kind of researched and shows up in papers, is the eating high glycemic load foods. So that's carbohydrates or sugars, and then that's everything from it's often associated with dairy consumption as well, because you're getting the lactose, which is going to spike. All of these are going to spike your insulin, and so the insulin response increases your IGF-1, which then increases sebum production, which is the oil in your skin. And so that is what kind of builds up, tends to clog your pores. That's when you get the, those acne, small infections where your immune system can't handle that and fight it off itself, and then that shows up in your face as acne and pimples. So that seems to be the method there. And so obviously the Apollo Challenge and a ketogenic diet in general is going to remove all of those influences. So you're going to be a lot more insulin sensitive. So you will your insulin levels aren't going to spike as much, and so you're not going to be impacting that pathway that affects your skin. The other piece is really all of the other kind of inflammatory influences they're still specific to the individual person, right?
Yeah,
It's
I think
still
that's a big key is like we talked about is getting some data on yourself, right? So with the Apollo Challenge, we have a real general perspective, and we've taken foods that generally don't agree with the population, and then you're going to find that certain individuals are going to need a level up. Some can actually level down on some of the restrictions. It's just a matter of identifying those.
Sure.
And like Will stated at the very beginning of the podcast, is that the skin's not a different entity, right? This is dynamic, and you have a lot of control in influencing its appearance, and obviously using that as a good indicator of what's going on the inside too,
Sure.
right? So,
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, some of the big things that are often associated with skin inflammation, acne, and other visible skin conditions are dairy, as I mentioned. That's because of the lactose and the carbohydrates in it. For the most part, gluten is another one that just increases systemic inflammation for most people that we've talked about, and so cutting that out, you could notice an immediate benefit in your skin. Now I say immediate because it tends to be a bit of a lag in what shows up on your skin, in relation to when you had consumed something possibly negative. Now, some people might notice immediate effects, like flushing and redness and some sweating if you're really sensitive to something that you're consuming. But for me personally, there's like a 3 or 4 day lag time. I know that if I have a serious exposure to something that I'm sensitive to, it's gonna be a couple days later that I'm gonna start getting a couple pimples. I'm gonna start getting some acne.
Right.
It's gonna pop right back up.
Right.
And it's something that I battled with my entire life was acne. I as a child I had pretty bad acne in high school. All the way through college and through my 20s. The whole time I struggled with outbreaks, with breakouts on my skin. Periods of time I had some issues on kind of chest, shoulders, back. And it's interesting. I found that was more when I was really serious into kind of the typical powerlifting regimen in college, when I was stacking on whey protein and really hitting that hard, and that's linked to the kind of dairy consumption and the cheap whey protein I was consuming was causing inflammation and causing all of that to act up. So
you're spending money on the protein supplement and then compounding that with the cost of the skincare products and maybe even medication, right? So it's just like this money dump effectively, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I only knew that my parents did whatever they could to make me more comfortable, and as an adolescent, as a teen, acne is really uncomfortable. It's socially awkward, and so they would take me to every dermatologist, every doctor, and their solutions were, acids to pour on your face.
Jeez.
And fortunately I never went with like the retinol and the ingested options,
the oral medications,
right?
Or the what was the really popular pill that everyone used to take?
It's not a Moxie, but it's one of the antibiotics.
Yeah, and it was It's extremely harmful to your liver. So, anyways,
Yeah, no, I tried that for a period and I didn't do well. And obviously, constantly consuming an antibiotic is going to really negatively affect your gut bacteria and your gut microbiome, and so that's going to compound the effects and actually make it worse over the long term. So everything that I was being told was this has nothing to do with your diet, nothing to do with lifestyle. Just take these things. This is just part of life.
That's insane.
And it's crazy. It really is.
But you're talking, and just like when it all, aligns with what Will had said earlier. With it's not a different entity, and it's not a different industry, and that's the key. Is that often the industry dictates the education. So if you have the skin industry that is predicated on profiting, and I'm not making anyone out to be a villain.
Sure.
Everybody's going to do what they've been taught to do, right? But if they're going to make their profits on skincare products, right, and we all can walk through a skincare aisle and look at the profitability of that industry alone, then that's gonna dictate everyone's perception, right? And it's just not just not the case. So
and I'm not gonna blame the doctors, because I know I've got a lot of friends that are doctors now, and the reality is that they only get 2 weeks of nutritional education in all of med school. And so unless they go into a specialty where there's more interest in focusing on nutrition, like they just are told the basics of, the national USDA guidelines for what you should consume. They get the pyramid or they got the plate. Most doctors got the pyramid because they've been practicing for years and years and years. And so that's all they know. And their continuing education is paid for by the pharmaceutical industry. So it's it's all this. It's a cycle. So I don't blame them for that, but it is frustrating looking back to see, okay, wow, it would have been amazing if I had known this then, and I could have changed some of my lifestyle, some lifestyle decisions, and maybe not had the same experience.
Right.
But fortunately now, I do know this, and we can help other people with it, and we have helped dozens of people with this, and it is amazing. People sharing their stories about how their skin's clear, they feel better. It's just even a single pimple can make kill your confidence for that entire day. It's crazy. It's crazy how impactful that is.
It just happened to me last week. It was prior to challenge. So actually, I think it might have been, not to gross everyone out, it might have been ingrown hairs. Actually, we covered it up nicely with the microphone, so you guys never knew.
But even that, if you weren't, that can be a sign of some immune issues of your body dealing with that ingrown hair and the infection and kind of dealing with that. So it's all a part of it, man. It's all about just eating clean, staying clean.
That's crazy. Another thing that I was reading on, that it can affect your hormone levels as well, correct? As far as high glycemic foods, kind of that spike can affect your hormone levels. And I'm sure that, again, we're not medical advice here. We're just generally speaking what's healthiest for you. But I'm sure that also affects your skin as well.
Right. Yeah. That's all part of coming back to this is all part of the whole system. All of your whole endocrine system, everything is connected to your skin, and your skin is it absorbs all sorts of things from the environment as well. So it's other than your stomach, it's the other way that you absorb any sort of entity.
Right.
And so so hormones can be affected. Insulin is a hormone that we talked about here, but it also you can your general hormone levels as far as the stability of your sex hormones and other hormones, definitely affects your level of inflammation, your immune health, your skin, it's all connected very, very closely.
Think about what if one's up regulated and one's down regulated. So if one's up, then the other's down, and then you just have to identify which one did you really want up. So the idea with insulin is that it'll help shuttle glycogen in the muscle, and we're talking from a performance standpoint. The problem with that is it also downregulates human growth hormones, so you have to really identify what's the main goal to achieve here, and if you have a dominant insulin effect, then you're going to have a non-dominant testosterone effect, and they're going to work on that type of cycle. So like we've talked about in the past, your food is the biggest driver of that, and understanding that's key.
Yeah, it's really like your food is the source of all of this, right? It's the underlying cause. And so a lot of the traditional skin remedies treat the symptoms, just like traditional medicine. They're taught to treat the symptoms, not necessarily remediate the underlying cause. And so if the underlying cause is nutrition, it's lifestyle impacts, then putting on skin creams and all of that stuff isn't really going to help you long term. And in my experience, and I know that people have had similar experiences, from the traditional dermatological world, you try one thing and it works well for a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, and you're like, oh, great, I found something that works for me. This is awesome. But then it starts to not work because you're skin gets used to it, or you develop, your skin microbiome develops an adaptation to it to try and counter the overcorrection that you're making with these products,
Right.
and it stops working as well. So you have to try something new, or try something more extreme. It starts with over-the-counter stuff, and then it ends up being this, really intense.
You got a kick coming every month.
Right. It needs to get, more and more and more intense, and you're really
We've
just
all been there.
destroying your skin microbiome. So that's another thing we hadn't really touched on. Your skin microbiome is another really important piece of this, which is, similar to your gut microbiome. It's the good bacteria that help to keep everything in balance, that help to, eat and get rid of some of the toxins that happen on your skin, and keep your skin cells healthy. And it's really, and they play with the oil you produce, and all that's, needs to be in this harmonious, state where everything works, in balance, where it all works together. And by adding a product that just wipes out one type of bacteria, then another bacteria, maybe the one we don't want, is going to take over. So it's really just taking a more natural, holistic look at it and say, okay, it starts from lifestyle, from diet. Stress is another big piece that can affect overall systemic inflammation and your skin. Stress is going to affect your hormone levels, so that in turn is going to affect your whole system in general. So that's, they all interplay. Yeah.
Well, and another thing too, kind of growing up, I think we were all kind of taught to, wash your face every night and, use whatever.
OxyClean.
Yeah, exactly.
What was it? Not OxyClean. What was it? I'm older than that.
No, yeah, that's the. You use that on shirts.
Just think of all the products, and you couldn't. Let's say
there was an Oxy product.
Yeah, and let's say
Oxyderm.
All right, let's just use a sitcom, Saved by the Bell, right? So there's not a commercial sequence that happened during Saved by the Bell where there wasn't a skin product, right? So, I mean, that's your education, right? That's what you're being taught to do, and that's what you're being marketed to do, right? So, especially when you're at that age, you're now getting conditioned that anytime something occurs on your face, we're going to go buy a product and we're going to apply it. So.
Well, we all wanted to look like Zach anyway, so. God, hopefully people know what we're talking about. But
if not, go on YouTube and just YouTube Saved by the Bell.
Yeah. So
I lost my train of thought.
No, it's okay. I'll take it over. So
perfect.
So, anyways, one consideration when you're on a ketogenic diet is that it'll often suppress your thirst, and so that's why we're really big proponents, and that's why it's in the book. You've got your checklist, so your 4 liters of water a day. So we maintain that balance, as what was mentioning earlier, right? So oftentimes when you're in that ketogenic state, you don't get as thirsty, and so it's important to remind yourself to be drinking that water so that balance is maintained. Yeah, no, hydration is a huge piece of this. Consuming a ton of water to offset any of the diuretic effects of caffeine consumption. So lots and lots of water, all year round. Yeah. You'll notice. I mean, I notice when it's most noticeable in the winter, where the environment is affecting my skin's moisture as well, because it's so dry that I'm constantly losing moisture. But I know based on how much water I've consumed that day, I can notice it in my hands and how dry I get. So it's you're hydrating, you're watering the system. Just like you're watering a plant. You got to make sure you're at that certain level where all of the systems can function properly, and water's a big part of that.
Well, and I think what's interesting too is it's not. I think the point is it's not just one thing. Obviously, your diet is huge, but if you're not drinking enough water, that can affect your skin, and if it's blushed in any way, shape, or form, or if you're getting outbreaks for any reason. And like you had mentioned, you're cutting milk, you're cutting dairy, and you're introducing more foods into your diet that are vegetables and greens and healthy for you and easily digestible. And so there's my point being is that there's multiple things that you need to be thinking about when thinking about your skin and as far as clearing it up. But obviously that happens on the Apollo Challenge. It's all there. You're crossing off you're checking off the boxes as you go through.
Yeah, one other piece that we hadn't mentioned yet that in the early days of kind of switching into this whole food, ketogenic, paleo, all the thing with the Apollo Challenge is that our diet checks all those boxes.
Yep.
So it's it's ketogenic, it's paleo, it's Whole30 approved, it's all of those things. So when switching in that sort of like whole food, low carb lifestyle, something that can be a sensitivity for people, can show up on people's skin is an egg sensitivity. So especially if you've been using kind of more conventionally produced eggs versus going for the pastured free range eggs, it can be a sensitivity. So that's something that if you're noticing that you're still having some flushing, you're still having some issues with your skin, looking at maybe removing eggs, maybe you put them on your salad every day. Take them out for a week and see if you notice a difference there.
And just to double up on what Will's saying too, is that in my experience, the people that are having the sensitivities with eggs they enjoy them so much, and it's such an easy preparation that they abuse them, right? And so they're not just having a couple, every other day. It's usually 6 or more, and so that can really drive that
substitute for every other food.
Yeah, exactly. Every protein source.
Yep.
So it's very common.
It's easy to do too, because obviously they're delicious. So, well, as far as that goes, then if we're going to cut that piece of the dairy, what about or I'm sorry, not dairy. What about butter?
Of the diet.
Of the diet. Is that something that could cause some inflammation in someone or adverse side effects?
No, there shouldn't be enough. There's not enough lactose left in properly made butter to be a concern. There are still some milk solids left in butter. It's not, if you want to go all the way to one extreme, you can go with ghee, and then that's just 100% fats. So there are no milk solids left. So if it would be a very small edge case where that would be the concern. There's probably something further down the chain that's impacting things. So, whether or not you're being really, really clean with the diet, or whether you're having something else on a regular basis that's causing that systemic inflammation and triggering your skin. But I mean, if you've done everything, maybe some people may be super, super sensitive, and then they can switch to ghee, clarified butter, organic, grass-fed ghee, and see how that goes as far as throwing that in their smart coffee instead of the grass-fed butter. But like I said, we haven't, through all the people we brought through the system, we haven't really seen that being a concern for people. But doesn't mean that it couldn't be.
Yeah, and to touch on one other element of the Apollo Challenge, if we have a first-time listener for the show, is that we employ fasting, right? And that's so you have a 16-hour window each and every day where you're not going to be consuming food, right? You'll have the extended fat-assisted fast with the smart coffee, so that gives your gut a break, which in turn gives your skin an opportunity, right? So, that's a very big advantage that maybe other diets don't really cover, right? So is that fasting component with the ketogenic approach. So this is kind of the fun fact of the day, if you will, that I came across in all of my research prepping for this show to make sure I had all of the appropriate research backing everything we're saying today. One thing that was fascinating to me is that there's a bunch of it's more anecdotal evidence, but that going on a ketogenic diet, really cutting out your carbs and lowering your overall insulin fluctuation. People who are more prone to getting skin tags, the skin tags actually disappear on their own. So this is another skin condition, right? It's another visible skin condition. So if you're prone to getting skin tags, which actually is more common in people with diabetes, pre-diabetes, people who have insulin issues, going this path can clear that up as well.
That's crazy.
So that's very interesting.
Wouldn't have thought, but there's a lot of people share that experience.
Big correlation with diabetics to have skin tags.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so by going ketogenic and really taking control of your insulin, that they tend to clear themselves up, which is just fascinating to me. So
Yeah. Very cool.
wouldn't have thought. But yeah, so we touched on a lot of things with the skin.
Well, I know you brought it up or you had wanted to talk about it in previous episodes. But any recommendations as far as I know there's some skincare tips that you can use MCT oil for, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, the MCT. So Liquid IQ, our let's get Kyle's shot up there. Liquid IQ, which is a little plug here, available on Amazon. That's our
We need to put a camera
ultra
right
premium C8 C10 blend MCT oil sourced from organic coconuts, bottled in glass. It's the best stuff available. So that's a great skin moisturizer. So I personally I prefer to use it in the winter when I'm really dry.
Sure,
so I use that as a skin moisturizer on my hands, on my face. It's great for hair. Yeah.
Little goes a long way.
Yeah, pretty much every place where you've been told you can use olive oil. So I don't know.
Sure.
There's a big trend on media saying, use olive oil for everything, for skin, for hair, for that. Pretty much everywhere where they said that you could use olive oil, you can use MCT oil, and it's a great substitute there as well.
So just a little on your hands, and you're just all over after the shower type of thing? Okay.
Yeah.
Go crazy with it.
Yeah, you'll actually notice that a lot of the top skincare brands.
Great demonstration.
Right.
Swab
all over.
Nobody missed that.
Yeah, that's it.
Don't worry, I went to the wide shot for that, so we got the whole thing.
Perfect.
Brett's gonna leave us. He's gonna start doing commercials now.
But a lot of top end skincare products that are really health focused, the carrier for any of the other components, antioxidants or whatever they put in there, is often MCT oil as the moisturizer.
Interesting. So, very interesting.
So,
True story.
Your capric and caprylic acid. So that's what's on the label. So that's your C8 and your C10.
Oh, that's right. Speaking of olive oil, you brought it up. I switched to avocado oil, and I may not go back.
Oh yeah,
it's delicious.
Yeah, it is outstanding.
It is.
That taste is phenomenal.
Putting that on your salads.
Yeah, salads and cooking with it too. It's good in high heat.
Yeah.
So if people are looking to understand a little more about how do they start with the root cause, all the things we talk about with the diet and as far as food choice and everything we've talked about on the show previous to this related to diet for weight loss and mental performance also applies to skin health. So people can go back and look at those, check out those episodes, look at the website, finger through that, go back through their Apollo Challenge book, and top up on ways to clear up their skin.
Yeah. So. It's a compounding effect. A lot of good things happen all at the same time, and so making those deductions to figure out what the underlying cause is key. And so that's the thing. When you're on the challenge, all these good things happen, and then it's immediate following the challenge. If someone veers off, that these things that were occurring beforehand reappear.
Yep,
so
absolutely. One night of drinking, one night of froyo and donuts, and you might wake up looking like Frankenstein. Well, I mean, obviously too, you got to put in the work, and you got to follow the challenge, or you have to follow, something similar to a ketogenic diet that's gonna give you these effects. But you're gonna notice the difference almost immediately.
Absolutely.
Yeah, people who've been struggling. I personally, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
That's fine.
No, I just wanted to share the same sentiment. I've been struggling with this my entire life, and this seems like it's the final piece that has, solved it. Cured me of acne.
Yep.
And I know it's not just a stage of life thing or a hormone balance thing, because when I do slip off of program, it comes right back.
Yep.
So
me too.
So that's for people who are struggling with acne and with skin conditions, definitely start here. 30 days to see if it works for you is it's a very minimal commitment to really change your outlook for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and I want to just double off of what he said there too, because everyone's decisions are based off their motivations, and so that could be a motivation for someone. They may
Sure.
not be discouraged with the way they're looking or the way they feel, right? But if they are having skin issues, I promise you, give this an opportunity for 28 days and tell us that this didn't provide some level of improvement, and it would be my anticipation it would provide a great level of improvement. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and of course, by 30 days, I meant 28 days. And the Apollo Challenge, 28-day system to look amazing naked and be the smartest guy in the room. And looking amazing naked, you need to have great skin.
there you go.
That's true.
Right?
There you go. Right.
So should we take it out on that?
Yeah.
I like it.
Awesome. Well, we don't have any sponsors on this show. This is entirely for our users. So, if you want to support us, make sure you're buying our products on Amazon. You can get the Apollo Challenge book on Amazon. Just search Apollo Challenge in the search bar, as well as our brand new product, Liquid IQ, that, like we mentioned before, that is the best MCT oil available on the market today. It is organically sourced. It is just unmatched currently. There we go. Here's a prop. Unmatched, bottled in glass. Like I said, organic coconuts, a chemical and completely chemical and solvent-free process. So this is really the best stuff you can put in your body as far as MCT oil goes. So you can find that on Amazon. Just type in Liquid IQ MCT and it should pop right up. Available with same-day shipping in certain cities and Amazon Prime available. So I hope we got something out of this episode for your skin. And check back next week with us. Same time, same place.
Absolutely, we'll be here.
Follow up with us on Facebook or on the YouTube comments. Ask questions. We're here to help. So have a great week. Thanks for tuning in.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
Guys.